Alright, so now I'd like to move on and talk a bit about a question that I get a lot. Why am I getting one shot? Why am I dying? And the answer of that can be many things. There can be a lot of reasons why you are dying. The main reason I'd like to cover today is a low life pool. But other reasons can be that you're rolling your maps very dangerously. It can be that you're countering a boss that has a one-shot mechanic. I mean, Dominus lightning ice strike or lightning strike when it hits the ground, it can one-shot most of builds if you're not an energy shield build with like 15,000 energy shield. So how do you don't get one-shot by that? You don't stand when he does that. You move away, of course. Maokai is the same. His slam in Merciless, not even core map, but in a Merciless map, his slam in the ground does up to maybe 8 or 10k damage. I tried that on an energy shield build on mine. Of course, if you hit a core map when he's much higher level, maybe 12 levels higher or what it is, maybe even more than that, it will hit even harder. So how are you gonna survive that? You're not. Even if you increase your life base a lot, you're not gonna survive that. And if you roll just some mods, that 10k damage gonna increase a lot. It can get 15k, it can become 20k. So some one-shots are not avoidable more than you have to avoid the strike. Your build will not survive it. It is as simple as that. There are no builds that remove those kind of things. Of course, if you go range, as some mentioned, you're a bit further away from the action, so you have more time to avoid what is coming, but you still get one shot. If you get more life, you can avoid a lot of one shots that are not of a kind I just mentioned, like Dominus Strike or the Malachi boss strike. So we want to get more life, and how do we do that? This build consists of a lot of uniques and a lot of craft items. We don't have a shield which gives life and things like that. So we have a Razor of the Seven Sun, no life on that spot. We have a helmet which we craft, which means that we can get from a low life roll to a higher one if we are lucky. We have our jewelry, which usually many use like dual Moku's Embrace, and that will mean that none of the jewelry has life. I'm using one Moku's Embrace, Eye of Innocence, and then a rare ring, so I get some life on it, but it's still a low roll. Then we have our gloves. Those are not unique, you can roll life on it. I use Abraf's Hooves, so I lose the life roll on those. Of course, if you have rares, you can get a high life roll there. And then we have a belt, and this is where most of the life comes from. So we need to roll those rare slots we have as good as well as possible. Every increased life I get 3.9 more life. So if I get 10 life, I get 39 life here. So the difference between 25 life in an item, so let's say these gloves would give me 51 life instead of 76 life. I would drop 100 life. Then if this ring didn't have any life, I'd run Moku's Embrace. I would drop about 150 life. So okay, 250 life is lower. Then let's say this belt, I didn't have a leather belt. I just had a normal belt rolled with 70 life. I would drop about 60 life. And 60 life would mean that I drop about 250 life. Somewhere there. So what did we say? I dropped about 250 before, 250 now. So we've dropped 6k life for something that for you might seem like a tiny bit of difference. But maybe we didn't have such a nice helmet as I have. It gives 87 life. Maybe we had this kind of helmet or even worse. Let's say we dropped 25 life. Then we drop even 100 more. So now we're at 6.4k life and I'm at level 92. You see where I'm going? Small drops in every item slot will make a big difference in the end when it comes to the total life pool. But also small increases in life in every gear slot will make big difference in the end. Now I have 7.7k life now. If we drop on a Essence of Greed crafted chest plate like we have here, we go up to 7.5k. That's a pretty dramatic difference. And it's 6 linked, it costs you maybe 25k as to craft one of these. To get the 6 link and to get the Essence of Greed, you just buy already 6 link. Then you might want to upgrade to a Belly of a Beast. You might think that this will be insane. We're gonna drop this on, and yeah, you get 180 increased life, 181. Not such a dramatic difference for the 5 exalts you invested in this chest plate. So base life has a huge impact on this build. Basically, getting this chest plate and then getting another 50 life increases in the other gear slots will do the same difference as upgrading from this chest plate to a Belly of a Beast. But it will be much cheaper, of course. So with this chest plate, maybe a cheaper life helmet like the one I've used before, we have around 7.4k. With a nicer helmet we go to 7.5. So now looking into the tree, we have a lot of jewel slots. These are very important. Here in the top, next to the Whispers of Doom, if you take that, it's of course as you like. But anatomical knowledge is put here, because it's some int nodes here, which is very nice. But not only that, it has its 8% increased maximum life. And this is the version I think you should get, a perfect one or not get it at all. Because the base life increases aren't that huge. You get maybe 12 base life from this, and that's maybe 40 life. If you don't get a max roll 8%, maybe not get it at all. Because these are the kind of jewels we use if not using that. These are 7% maximum life jewels, and it's the max roll on it. The other things you can roll as you want, I mentioned it in my cost video. Other mods are optional, you can do them a bit as you want to compensate for other gear or maybe to increase damage. Ignite chance is of course very nice. I forgot to put that mod in the cost video, but it's a very nice mod. So yeah, that's the jewels. You need to get 7% on all. What happens if you remove those jewels? Your life drops dramatically. You see, 1 jewel is about 120 life. So that's what you can expect from every added jewel slot. Ta-da! An anatomical jewel is of course a bit more powerful. So you drop about 200 instead of 120. So it's worth to get in this spot right here. Okay, so that's about talking about the life. There's also been some discussion about me changing the tree in the forums and stuff like that. And it is to get more life, of course, to prevent those unnecessary one-shots. Take-home message here would be get as much life as you can on most of the spots. Of course, this will cost some more currency. So this is something you want to do later on when you realize you want to level up. This comes to my last point, maybe the most important point. To increase your life pool, believe it or not, you need to level. More than that, you can get more jewel slots and more passive points with life. You get a flat increase of 12 life for every level. Now, since I have a factor of 3.9 to my life, I get, so 12 life for me is a 47 increased life in my life pool. So for every level I level up, I get 47 life in my current state, thanks to all the life mods I have. If I level up from 85 to level 90, I get 235 additional base life here. That is a lot, just by leveling up, if we don't counting the passive points we've gotten from the tree. So what you have to do is get life on your gear, get life jewels that are very well rolled on the life mod, and of course get a life from leveling up. That is how you're gonna get a high life pool, although you're using jewels and some crafted gear slots, which are hard to get life on. Of course, you have to avoid the boss mechanics as mentioned before, and you have to think about the maps you're rolling. You can't roll them blindly, you have to be aware that some bosses will one-shot you. Now, some other things that can help you to not get one-shots are using flasks. Something like granite flasks are very nice for us to use to not get one-shot, but that is not really the case because we have really not so much armor from a tree. So a much better alternative for us is using a basalt flask. A basalt flask gives a flat reduction, so on these 13% we already have, we get another 20%. So it prevents one-shots. If not using the Abra's Hoofs version, Arctic Armor also gives a flat physical damage reduction. So these things can help. There is also a flask, I think it's a Stibnite flask. And that flask makes a smoke cloud around you, and it gives you 50% chance to evade. It will not mitigate the one-shot, but it gives you a 50-50 chance to not get hit by the one-shot mechanic. Because many of the one-shots are attacks and physical hits. So yeah, these are the ways to basically counter those. There is also a unique flask, I'll see if I have it here. It's Taste of Hate. It also mitigates physical damage, so it can also protect against one-shots. Now this flask is very expensive, so not really something I'm recommending. And it isn't any better than the basalt flask, but combining those two will of course increase your chance of surviving. Oh yeah, one more thing. To prevent one-shots, there is a very nice thing that also adds on this flat damage reduction, and is Fortify. When you're fighting with bosses, you want to have your Fortify up. Now there are two methods I think are great for this. One is using Whirling Blades. You do Whirling Blade one time, and maybe you get your Fortify up. The thing is, our accuracy is pretty crap. My accuracy, for example, is 62%, and on bosses this will drop even further because the bosses has higher evasion than the normal mobs. So maybe I have a 30% chance to hit on those, let's say that, or a 40. So I will need to Whirling Blade 3 times through that boss or 4 times through that boss before I get my Fortify. That is not reasonable. So to make it a bit easier on the bosses, you can put in a Cyclone, because Cyclone hits very fastly, and one Cyclone will almost always be enough to put your Fortify up. And it is good at bosses like maybe Hydra Guardian and things like that, because if you Whirling Blade, there's a risk that you Whirling Blade too far and go into like an ice sphere or things that can kill you. But also you have to consider that Whirling Blades is nice to avoid one-shots. So it is a balance. On some bosses you might want a Cyclone to get your Fortify up easier to mitigate so you don't get one-shot. But on some bosses like maybe Malachi and Dominus, it won't really matter, you'll get one-shot anyways. So you will instead want to Whirling Blade away and avoid the one-shot mechanics. Yeah, that I think covers the one-shots and why you're getting one-shots. So do these things I just mentioned and learn from your deaths. Look at the bosses, look at what killed you, look at the map mods you had, and don't do that again.